America's black chefs have been shaping our country's cuisine since its earliest days. Contributor Mark Whitaker has been talking to a chef of our own time who's telling their stories.
Wow, man, that looks
Looks good, right?
Over the course of his storied career, Chef Marcus Samuelsson has heard that a lot. A TV veteran, a restaurant and cookbook impresario, he's always delighted by how our curiosity for new tastes draws us together.
We smile, your eyes get really watery and warm, and you lean in. But when we do that around race and there's no entry point, we look down and don't talk to me.
And finding an entry point to talk about race matters a lot to Samuelsson. An American by way of Ethiopia and Sweden, he's become increasingly troubled by our racial divisions.
So as a chef, what's my role? How can I contribute to this? And that's really where the rise started.
The Rise, Samuelsson's latest book, is his recipe for a national conversation by celebrating the contributions of black chefs and black cooking.
I want to share stories about amazing people about this amazing country around food. The most delicious way about having a conversation around race is to cook it and eat it together.
So, black food matters.
Yes.
What is black food? How do you define it?
Delicious, complex, layered, it's worldly, it's local, it's southern, and it's finger-licking good. You may or may not fully understand it, but get into it.
For Samuelsson, getting into black food starts with understanding its history. So he introduces us to one of the field's preeminent writers, Jessica B. Harris. How would you describe the influence that the black cooking tradition has had on American cooking in general?
Well, I think it's difficult to even conceive of the vastness of the influence.
Harris says that influence begins with some of the staples of Southern cooking that actually arrived with enslaved Africans.
Watermelon, black-eyed peas. You get strange things that arrive here via the African continent. Peanuts. And of course, the big daddy of them all, the mucilaginous pod, okra. We slipped and slid into everybody's life.
Add to that the critical know-how for a food as essential to the South as rice.
The rice-growing knowledge came from West Africa, from which the people were enslaved. And you can find posters that say, slaves newly arrived from, and that was sort of like a euphemism for these folks know how to grow rice.
Tell us about the black chefs who fed the founding fathers.
Well, there are two of them that we talk about a lot. Hercules Posey was George Washington's enslaved chef. He was reputed to be a dandy.
The first celebrity chef.
Absolutely. And probably the most famous of the early runaways. He left, never caught. It infuriated Washington.
When Thomas Jefferson represented the U.S. at the French court of Louis XVI, he sent for his enslaved chef, James Hemings.
Hemings is in their kitchens learning French cuisine, and then eventually petitions for his freedom, which Jefferson grants grudgingly.
Enslaved or free, cooking ham for others, pig's feet for themselves, Samuelsson says the vast majority of black cooks worked for little reward or credit.
Black chefs was kind of like this anonymous backbone that never got acknowledged in food history.
They serve as the inspiration for one of the many chefs Samuelsson profiles, Eduardo Jordan.
The talent and the skill of the African-American cook is so built in our DNA that I now get the privilege to tell that story through my food.
A Florida native, raised on Southern food, Jordan says he pays tribute to his ancestors at his Seattle restaurant, June Baby.
Oxtails slowly braised, just like my mama used to do. This was Louisiana-style gumbo, and this is a take on candy yams. This is true Southern food at its best, just like next level.
Jordan is a classically trained chef, and when he opened his first restaurant, the award-winning Solari, featuring European cuisine, he had an agenda.
What I wanted to do is flex my muscles. I didn't want to be pigeonholed to be the black chef opening up a black restaurant.
But when he added African and Caribbean influences to the menu,
it made me feel happy because I wasn't trying so hard to try to cook someone else's food when I could actually just do me and be me. There is more to Southern food than what meets the eyes. There's a deeper story.
It's an insight central to the larger purpose of Marcus Samuelsson's book. Let the food do the talking.
When we're able to sit down and break bread, share our food, tell our stories, we gain a better appreciation for each other.
And when we cook together, we start realizing how incredible, delicious America is.
And what we have in common.
Yes.